The next thing we're going to add to the game are some ambient scripts. These just play noises and things periodically to give the world a little more life. And noises, I mean text, since this is a text-based game. So looking at the script, you can see it inherits from default script. This is the script class in evennia. And we can see, or in our game, I should say, evennia has the default script coded inside it. And you can see we have our key, which is the name of the script. Name, same as key. You can give it aliases if you want shorter strings or names to be able to find it by. And then things like permissions, objects. There's a bunch of different attributes here, but we're going to look at a few specific ones in our example here. But this is a great place to start. And to find this document, you go into your game, into type classes, and into scripts. And that's what you'll see right here. And it gives you a good overview and documentation of what you're going to need to create your scripts. So now let's jump into our script specifically. We wrote our module for our ambient sound scripts to be right here, parallel to our scripts folder. So let's open that in Sublime quickly. And you can see, I'll make this a little bigger so it's easier to follow, that we're following the exact same format. We inherit from default script, we have our ambient caves, we could inherit from script if we wanted, and then we would be able to make changes that would affect all of the scripts that inherit from that. But since this is a very basic script, we just inherited from default script, and at creation we set a key, a description, an interval, which is how often this triggers. So this will trigger once every 50 seconds. And if you want it to only repeat for a certain amount of times, you can put a repeat here. We have that commented out because we want it to just persist. We can have a start delay, which will essentially wait for an interval the first time it starts, which we have set to true. And persistent is set to true, which just means that if we reload the game, it will persist past that reload. At repeat, we have an if random, and here we're just going to say 2/3 of the time you hear nothing, and then 1/3 of the time you hear one of the random messages. And the random messages, same thing, we have a random here. And these randoms, as you see, they're a little different than the randint we used earlier. Random.random will give you a random value between 0 and 1. So up here, they're doing it for 2/3 of the time will return nothing. 1/3 of the time will come to this message because it's going from a value between 0 and 1. Same thing here. We're just breaking this up into smaller chunks, each one being 0.1, and we can break this into 10 different pieces and have 10 different messages. So every 50 seconds, 1/3 of the time, we will get one of these messages. And we're just saving that to a variable named string. And then down here, we have our command self.object.messageContentString. Self is our class object, but object is the object in the game that we're attaching the script to. So if you're attaching it to a person, you would just use object.message, and they would see the message every so often. We have to use message_contents because we want to apply this to a room and have this string echoed to all of the people in the room. Marshall, one of our builders, wrote some scripts that he wants to add to some of these rooms. We've already added this one a few times, so let's duplicate this one and create the other ones he sent me. So most of this is going to be the same. We're going to need to update the name of the class and the keys and things, but most of the code is going to stay the same. The first one is going to be sounds for the Hunters Guild, so let's rename this. And the same thing, the key, how we assign it, we want that to be the same name as the class, just to make it really easy for people who are building when they're running into an error to be able to report that to the programmer so they can look up the exact same name. And the description, same thing, we're using it the same way, so that makes sense. And I think that's everything except for the messages. So let's update the strings. I'm just going to copy them from off window quickly and come back over here. We can paste these in and make sure they're tabbed right. The tabs look good. The strings are coming through. All of the syntax highlighting is correct. I'm not seeing any errors. And that should be good. So now we have 2 different ambient scripts. So we can have different sounds playing or different scripts playing when you're in rooms in the caves or in the Hunters Guild. So we have one more we want to add. So same thing. I'll just copy this again. And paste it. And now we have one more we want to add. Copying our strings from another window quickly, and let's paste them in here. And now we have all of our strings. Same thing. Let's check our syntax. Everything's looking right. So that should be good. Now we should be able to save this, and we have a few more scripts. So now let's go over how you would actually start and stop these scripts on a room. So here we are back in our game. The first thing we're going to have to do is reload the server to get our new Python scripts. And you can see before I do that this room already has one version of the script running because we just got one of the messages. So let's reload this. And now that the server is reloaded, let's take a look at the room. Everything's the way we're expecting. So we can come up here and take this script. So we're going to be running script space our room number, which in this case is 219, and then the path to our function, our path to our class, which would be type classes, ambient scripts, and then in this case we're running ambient caves on this room. So this would be the command to start this chain going. So you'll have every 50 seconds, a third of the time, a message coming. So you would do that by scripting the room and then applying the script you want. Right now it already has one of these scripts, so I can come over here and do stop, and I'm going to just copy paste this, make it easy to type again. And this will allow me to stop that script on the room. For me to apply it again, same thing, except for don't have the stop in there, and we're saying add the script to the room. So now we have restarted that script, so let's give it a little bit of time and see if a message pops up. While we're waiting for our message, we can check and see at what point in the interval our script is. We can run script, and we can run 219 and see it that way, but you also have another helper function when you're in a room. So here, since we're already in the room, we can just type script here. And we can see that one cycle just passed, so now there's 40 seconds more for us to see the next one, because we only get a message a third of the time. So I'll be back when we get the next message. We just got our first message, and we can see clanking of a hammer against stone can be heard in the distance, rhythmically striking. So we can see that our ambient script is working. So now I have to send these commands off to our builders so they can write these and add them to the rooms. So same thing, let's paste this here, and I'm not going to actually run the command here, but I'll make a little helper command to make this easier for them. So we can write that, same thing, this is going to be copied and pasted. I think I can do Shift Tab in here. Yeah, I really like the input here where it's a little more like an editor window, which I'm not sure how you would really utilize in a game, but I feel like there'd be a cool way to make use of that somehow. So same thing, we have Ambient Caves, we have Hunters Guild, and we have Stonemakers Guild. So I can copy those, and these are the commands to add these different scripts to different areas. I will send these off to our builders, and we'll have more ambient sounds in the game. Thanks for checking this out. Peace.